Welcome everybody to episode 10 of the Harrison Brinker Show. We finally did it. We had double digits and I couldn't have done it without you. Actually, I could have, but I'm grateful nonetheless. You know, I always like to ask if you've been checking in on pop culture. Did you guys see this on TikTok recently? A Hooters bartender, Maya Marie on TikTok, posted that she makes over $500 in one night. That's incredible. You know my take? My only problem is that I never got a thank you. You're welcome, Maya. Hope you spend it on something pretty. But if you want to stick around for this episode, you get to hear me talk about how my sunglasses are for girls. I complain about politics and how I'm almost over them, but the universe keeps trying to pull me back in. And then I complain about gravity and how it doesn't make any sense to me. But we ended off with an interview with Colin Blair. You know him, you love him, so stick around for that. And here you go. Episode 10, everybody. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Harrison Brinker Show. I'm here, your host, Harrison Brinker, trying to get my desk organized here the best I can. It actually looks terrible. I want a new desk. I want a lot of new stuff. Let's talk about it. I bought a new preamp for this audio interface here because I guess with these higher quality microphones, they're already just super quiet. And I've had a lot of complaints about the show. The most common thing I hear is that the audio quality is always too low, and I'm thinking, I know, but the problem is I have to do all the processing with the microphone and the audio quality in post-production, which I hate. I don't like doing that. I want to have everything sound exactly as it does on the show as I'm recording it. So if the audio quality is low, what I had to do earlier is just turn these knobs, the sound knobs, way up, which makes it sound very bad, right? That sounds terrible. And you can hear my background noise. Throughout. Every time I'm quiet, you can hear my AC in the background. So if I just turn that up when I'm not talking, you can hear it. I'll turn it up for you here. Isn't that terrible? Sorry, that actually was awful. And I'm going to turn that down in post-processing, but I had to hear that high pitch in my ear. That was awful. But I bought a new preamp to kind of mitigate that. But I want to get a limiter and a noise gate and a compressor, which are all things you can do in post-processing, but I hate it. I don't want to go and do all that stuff after the show's recorded. I want it to sound good now. And I don't like, there's software you can get. There's free software you can download and do it all live. I don't have a producer here. I don't have someone sitting on it's all done through this computer. I don't have someone sitting here moving all the dials up as I'm recording it. I have to do all that afterwards. So if I had software on my computer, I'd have to keep clicking out and going, oh wait, let's turn this up real quick. And that would be terrible. That would be stupid. I need either to pay somebody to do that, or I need to figure out how to do it on its own. Figure out how it can do that on its own. And physical hardware is the only way to do that, I think, from in my current situation. I want to get a new audio mixer. I have a Behringer audio interface here, and it works fine, but it's only got 2 inputs, and I really hate that because I can only do a microphone and sound effects.
Come on, give me that booze, you little pumpkin pie haircutted freak. Come on.
But I want to get a new audio mixer that has like 15 inputs so I can have 10 microphones and have my entire room mic'd up so that anytime I turn away, you can still hear me perfectly. I want to have the soundboard coming in. I want to have my computer sound going into an audio mixer. I want to have a guitar sitting here just in case I ever want to play guitar. It's already just plugged in and ready to go. I need a new camera. Right now I just use my iPhone camera wirelessly to my computer, but sometimes it lags and it glitches, and I don't like that. I want a real camera. And I have a real camera. 1 second. I have a DSLR here, and it works great for pictures. And for video, it's not a camcorder, so it only lets you record up to 29 minutes and 59 seconds of video. So if I were to record onto an SD card, I'd only be able to do it for 30 minutes at a time, which is awful. But I thought, well, hey, what if you just got the HDMI cable plugged right into your camera, and then you put it into a capture card? You can use that as your camera. You don't have to record onto an SD card. You just take the camera screen and record it through OBS. That's a great idea, Harrison. Unfortunately, with this piece of crap camera, you can't do that. I guess it's something called a clean HDMI out, and that camera can't do it, which means that if I were to use that camera, it goes onto my computer, but it has all the little knickknacks and graphics on the screen with like the ISO and the shutter speed and the exposure and da-da-da-da-da-da, all that crap, and you'd be able to see that. So it'd be a video of me with all the dials in the corners, and that's just terrible. I could get past that by zooming in, but then the quality is going to be worse than even the iPhone, even with its glitches. So I need a new camera. That's $600. The audio mixer, that's $250. All the compressor and the noise gate and the limiter, those physically are at least $100 a piece. If it's for the sake of the show, I don't mind spending the money, but I want to make sure that I need to do it before I just drop $1,000 on all this equipment. I would need a new capture card if I got a new camera. I don't even have one yet, so I would need to buy one. I want to get a new desk because now that I'm adding more and more things to it, you can see the clutter. I don't like the clutter, but I'm kind of stuck here with what I have. What am I going to buy? A new desk? I'm recording in my bedroom here. I don't really have any space to put an entirely new desk as big as one would need to be to hide all this crap. I also want a new set. Right now I'm just using a green screen. Let's see. Can I change the background? Oh, no. Well, yeah, kind of. You can't see the green screen, but I'm in front of a green screen. That's why my hand cuts off, because that's where the green screen ends, is right here. And if I didn't do that, if my hand didn't get cut off, you would just see my wall, and that's ugly. But don't worry, all in due time or whatever, these things will be changing. I can't promise it'll be my next episode, but they'll change eventually. So stick around for that episode 400 when we have all these things finally on a new set. Maybe we'll even get a studio for this show. But my rant, my early beginning rant of the show, talking about my week or whatever, because this is all I've been doing, is going on Amazon and Sweetwater and trying to find these things that would be better for the show. My problem with all this equipment stuff is so many people have podcasts now who are broke that every time you look up like podcast equipment, the first 100 results are all like $9 microphones. USB microphone, this is perfect. You don't even need to change the levels. Yeah, but I want to be able to in real time, not in post, not in Premiere or whatever, or Audition or whatever I'm supposed to be using. I just do it through Premiere. Can I say that? It works seemingly fine until I get someone complaining that the audio is bad. But sorry, that was a big, long chunk of nothing. But if you watch the show, I think you should know how it works behind the scenes of all the equipment that I need to get it to sound as great as you hear it right now. Even at microphones, I don't like these in-ear microphones. I don't like that they're white. I think it looks stupid. I want it to look good. If this was an audio only podcast, I think it would make no difference if I had a big bunch of clutter. But I have a show, and all the equipment is just stacking up on my desk, and it looks terrible. But my problem is I'll go on to Sweetwater or Reverb or YouTube and look up like, okay, good podcast equipment, and they're like, oh, you want an audio mixer? Oh, I got the perfect one. It's $59, and it's got a bunch of neon lights, and it glows in the dark, and it has one microphone input. I'm going, I don't care if it glows in the dark. I need it to have 15 inputs. I need it to actually be able to record a show, not just look fun on a table. If I want it to look fun, I'm in front of a green screen. I can make it look like anything's behind me right now. So that's my problem. We're at a point where so many people are podcasting with so little money that the market is being bombarded with crappy equipment. So it's not to say that you shouldn't have a podcast, but if you're going to have one, you should be willing to spend $1,000 on all the equipment you need to have a good one. And including me. I'm 10 episodes in, and I'm just now talking about buying all this stuff, but at least I know what I need to buy. I just happen to be broke. But I'm not okay with it. That's the problem. You shouldn't be okay with like, well, it's just the crappiest microphone you can get at Best Buy. Yeah, not good. This thing cost me $150. Maybe $100. I might have gotten it on sale. I can't remember. But the preamp and the audio mixer, everything you need for just the microphone quality, cost me over $200. Which is not a lot, but you should be willing to spend that money and not just go, well, the snowball, it's $60. It's perfect. It's all you need. No. You need a lot more if you want to have a good show. So there's that. I think that's it for the beginning part, at least. I'm just annoyed that the market, the podcast market, is just so I don't know. It's been infiltrated by cheap crap. You should be spending hundreds of thousands of dollars per episode to make sure your show sounds good. And eventually I'm going to spend that much money to make sure I get a real set. This is a fake TV behind me. Eventually we'll have a real TV. We'll have real bricks. We'll have real wood. We'll have a real sign. In due time, my friends. So stick around. The show will be better by episode 55. But for now, just enjoy what we're working with at the moment. And in the next segment, Forget all he said, all of this stuff. We'll just get back to the regular show. So enjoy.
Thank you. Hey, guess what my favorite snack is?
What?
It's a Tootsie Pop, but instead of a Tootsie Roll in the middle, it's poop in the middle.
Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow Americans, I want to be done with politics. I hate politics. I think it's really lame. I think liking the president and liking the government is like liking your boss, liking your high school principal. It's lame. It's stupid. It's for nerds. You shouldn't be passionate about it. You're allowed to vote. You're allowed to have your opinions on certain matters. But to be driving around with a Trump sticker on your car or a flag hanging off your house or a Hillary sticker or a Bernie shirt, you're a goofball. Imagine your high school principal on your shirt saying, I'm his #1 fan. You'd get, what's that called? A swirly or whatever? You'd get your head stuck in the toilet every day if we were in a good society who still did that. But I hate politics. Unfortunately, I'm surrounded by them. It's hard to stay completely ignorant on certain topics. But that's my goal. I want to be well-informed and apathetic. I want to be able to know exactly why Ukraine and Russia are fighting and how long this conflict has been going on. I want to know the same thing about Israel and Palestine. I want to know everything about it, but I want to be able to take all that information in and still be allowed to end it with, I don't care. I want to feel that exact way about American politics, where I can hear about what the hell is that called? Minimum wage. I want to be able to know about minimum wage and all the things that impact why people aren't raising the minimum wage from $7.25 to $15 an hour. I want to know all about it, and I want to be able to go, I don't care. But I was closer. I was getting better and better. There was a time in my life, 6 years, where I was obsessed with politics and knowing about who the Secretary of State was and all this stuff. Who's Henry Kissinger? Oh, well, I can tell you all about him. That's so stupid. And I'm not upset with myself. I'm just turning a new leaf in my life, turning a new page and saying, I'm done with that. And about 2 months ago, I was fine. I was at like the closest I have ever been of just giving it all up. But then Trump got arrested. It's the first president ever to be a convicted felon. So it's hard to just be like, I don't care. How can you not care about it? It's a very interesting thing. It's the first time that's ever happened in 250 years or however long we've been around. And then, okay, that was kind of over. Whatever. What's coming up next? Oh, the debates? Okay, let's watch the debates. On my other show, my roommate and I sat down and reacted to the debates, and it was hard not to be like getting amped up, like, all right, I'm back into it. The election's coming up, but then I had to tell myself, Harrison, stop. This is politics. You shouldn't care about the debates. And I didn't. When I saw Joe Biden, I thought he did all right. But everyone on Twitter, which, by the way, if you're the kind of person who says, well, it's just on Twitter, it's a bubble, no one cares. I'm like, okay, well, then how come that tweet has 350,000 likes? Like, to just say, well, it's just on Twitter, no one really feels that way. I'm like, well, 350,000 people feel that way, so it's not nothing. To go on Twitter the next day after the debates and everyone's saying Joe Biden needs to drop out, CNN's posted, like, CNN is having people on the show saying Joe Biden needs to drop out of the race, he's not fit for office, and I was just taken aback going, what happened yesterday that all of a sudden everybody flipped? Like, I made episode 5, I think it was, where I'm talking about Joe Biden being a goofball and an old man, probably poops his pants, blah, blah, blah. I felt that way since 2020, but after the debates, everyone all of a sudden on the left flips the switch and goes, oh wait, no, we hate him now. Like, what? After the debate? He actually performed better in the debate than he does talking at any other conference. What the heck just happened? Have you not been paying attention? Which is fine. It's fine to not pay attention. But that'd be like asking me about who the Chiefs just drafted. Like, I don't pay attention to that. That's also why I don't ever talk about it. So if you don't pay attention to politics, it's weird to watch one thing on the debate and then go, all of a sudden, I hate Joe Biden. Like, that's weird. This isn't your scene. I don't want it to be my scene, but that's how I feel. Anyway, the debates came on. Everyone flipped on Biden. Was this the last straw for the undecided? I don't know. It's one thing to not care about politics and be undecided. You get to vote in the election. But is that all that was, that everyone kind of flipped? I don't know, because CNN certainly isn't undecided, and they're posting whatever. Their shows are all saying Joe Biden needs to drop out. That was weeks ago from when I'm recording this. I thought that was interesting. So that's another crazy thing that happened that's hard. Within the span of 2 months, all these crazy things are happening, and I'll go on with what happened next. Obviously, Trump's attempted assassination That hasn't happened since Reagan, so it's hard to not care. And then this crazy thing happens and just be like, oh, Trump got shot at? Whatever. It's hard not to get sucked back into like, we need to fight. We need to get up. We need to save America. So that happened too. And then, of course, this is, as I'm recording this, yesterday Biden announced he's dropping out of the presidential election in 2024. So just another crazy thing. Like, these are insane things that haven't happened in however long. And for some reason, in the last 2 months, all of these have happened. And it was right at the time that I was like, I'm giving up politics. I'm done with this. I don't care. I don't want to care. I don't want to like my boss. And then the world goes, oh, wait, here's 1,000 reasons why it's going to be very hard for you to stop caring. I'm like, you got me. I'll say this about Biden dropping out. It's funny when people talk about, whatever. It's funny when people talk about, like, can you believe Trump tweeted everything? Trump tweets all the time. His tweets sucked. Well, Joe Biden just announced he's dropping out of the race through Twitter. He didn't have a press conference, or at least he didn't announce it through a press conference. He posted it on Twitter, and that's how everyone saw it. So I think Trump was just the first one that posted onto Twitter. Like, when Obama, obviously Twitter is around with Obama in office, but he didn't get his start on Twitter. Like, he didn't get into office in 2008 when Twitter was a thing. Trump did. So obviously Trump is a loudmouth and talks out of his behind or whatever. So it's not to say that Trump had no choice but to go onto Twitter, but I think you're going to see a lot more presidents posting onto Twitter, and Trump was just the first one, and that's why you think it's weird. It's not because Trump's so stupid that he tweets stuff. Joe Biden just announced he's resigning from the race via Twitter. That's just where we're at now. And I'm fine with that, but I'm not going to make I'm not going to make tweeting presidents the hill I'm going to die on. Is like, oh, that's unprofessional. Well, I don't know. Joe Biden just did it. So that's something. I'm curious to see who is going to run against Trump in November. Is it going to be Kamala, whatever her name is? Biden endorsed her, but I guess that's not the end all be all. It could very well be Hillary Clinton or Gretchen Whitmer or Josh Shapiro, whoever the DNC delegates vote on, and we'll see who they go up against. They're going to have a tough time getting someone to, I don't know. They won't have a tough time pushing anyone. Like, it just comes down to their vote. But if it's someone like Gretchen Whitmer, is 2 months enough time to galvanize all the voters to say we're behind Gretchen Whitmer? Like, at least the thing going for Trump is he's had 8 years of campaigning. So the left is going to put in Gretchen Whitmer and say, okay, you have 2 months to do what Trump did in 8 years. That'll be tough. And would Gretchen Whitmer want to do that? I don't know. Would Hillary Clinton? Would Kamala Harris? All these things I'm saying about politics, even knowing Gretchen Whitmer's name makes me disgusted with myself. I don't want to know this. I really hope that after November, whoever gets in, I can go, okay, finally. I could put up with caring about politics for the next 2 months. And once whoever gets voted in, I'll finally go, okay, I'm done forever. I'll never vote again. I'm moving to Cambodia, and I'm done with American politics. The last thing I'll say, what did I write here? Politics are evil. That's just a fun thing to say. But I will say this, speaking about like the high school principal and your boss and whatever. If you think Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and Mark Zuckerberg are bad and bad bosses, and Jeff Bezos makes his Amazon workers pissing water bottles on their brakes, and Elon Musk is an asshole, and he fired all the Twitter people, and Mark Zuckerberg he's the Jesse Eisenberg in that movie, he's bad. If you can get on board with that high-level capitalist CEOs are evil, then it shouldn't be that much of a jump to go, oh, Joe Biden's evil, or Trump's evil, or Obama's evil. Like, everyone liked Obama because he's a nice, charismatic guy, but he was in charge of the biggest corporation in the world, which is America. But for some reason, it's okay to say Jeff Bezos is an asshole, but if you said Obama's an asshole, it's like, no, Obama's good. It's like, no, I don't say I hate him, but we have to acknowledge that he's in charge of this business. The kind of person that would want to do that has to be a psychopath. So whoever gets voted in, they're going to be psychotic. That's my point. And if you think Elon Musk is evil, well, so is the government. So that's all I got. Vote independent. Just kidding. I don't care.
Nice. Name a better song.
I graduated high school in 2019. I went to college at Penn State. For the first 2 years of my college career, I was a civil engineer. I was studying civil engineering. And then I realized I don't understand science. I don't understand physics. I don't understand statics or dynamics or any of this stuff that I need to know to be able to build a bridge that won't explode like the one in Baltimore. So I dropped out. I went into film, and that's why you see what you see today. A beautiful set here that I just complained about everything being wrong with in the beginning of this show. But I have a couple questions even from college that I never got explained to me. Starting with atoms. I don't understand atoms. I saw a TikTok the other day that broke down like the size relativity of an atom to your hair, and like a strand of hair, and it said if a strand of hair on your head was the size of the earth, an atom would be the size of a grain of sand. And I'm thinking, well then what do I care? If an atom is so tiny that it would have to be, my hair would have to be the size of the earth for me to even see a grain of sand that is an atom, well then I don't care. And I believe you that they're there, but I don't think anyone should be focusing on atoms or particles or quarks or whatever these things are called that make up little tiny, the nucleus and a mitochondria and all this stuff. Can we stop with that? Can we stop focusing on this stuff? Like, I'm glad Albert Einstein broke down all the ways these things move. That's great. That happened already. I'm sure there is plenty more to know about it, and if we ever wanted to use teleportation or any of these things, like the Willy Wonka TV shrink ray, I'm sure we're going to need to know how atoms work. But until then, can we stop talking about them? They're irrelevant. They're puny. They're tiny. They're small. There's a reason people don't use pennies anymore. Pennies are pennies are a 1/100th of a dollar bill. You see people use dollar bills. How often do you see anybody with a penny? People are on the same page about that. Like, hey, pennies are kind of stupid. Let's just use credit cards. But for whatever reason, we're all supposed to just go, well, atoms make up everything. You know, a carbon atom is different than a gold atom. And how many electrons and protons are on the side of it? Who cares? Can we get past it? They're too small to care about. They're just, it's disturbing that anyone's even focused on atoms. They're like, you know, this table made up of atoms. They're constantly vibrating. Yeah, no, they're not. I mean, if they are, I can't feel it. And if I can't feel it, then I don't care. So atoms piss me off. The second thing I'm confused about, I still don't understand, is gravity. So Isaac Newton invented gravity, right? We're all on the same page with this. He was sitting under a tree, reading a book, writing in his diary, and an apple fell on his head. Okay, gravity. Great. I understand gravity conceptually. The earth is spinning so fast that it sucks everything in, and I've seen this on small scales, like when you're on that ride at the circus or the carnival or the fair, that it spins you around super fast and you get sucked to the back of the wall, right? Centripetal force, whatever it is. Centrifuge, I'm guessing, has something to do with that word. So it's spinning so fast and it's so huge that it pulls everything towards it. That's why when an apple breaks off a tree, it falls down. It gets sucked down to the earth, right? Okay, I get that. But riddle me this, Brainiacs. How does gravity get in my house? I get how. Is it like oxygen? Like, I get if my house was a vacuum and there was no air in here and I opened the front door with all my might in a weird vacuum. I opened the door, all the air would get sucked into my house and it would fill up all the nooks and crannies of my entire home. I understand that. Is that how gravity works? That's how it fits in my head, because I'm like, well, I would understand gravity working like this pen falling if I didn't have a roof on my house. I would understand that because the gravity can go through, like, there's a hole in the roof, so the gravity gets in. I think that's a Beatles song. But since I have a roof over my head, how does the gravity know to get into the roof? I'm just in a square box here. I'm in a 10-foot by 10-foot bedroom, and somehow the gravity knows to act the same way as it would if I was outside. Right? So if you're saying like that's a stupid argument and you're going to say, Harrison, the gravity doesn't come from the top down, it comes from the bottom up to pull you down. It comes from the core of the earth. Okay, well, I have a floor. So how's the gravity get through my floor? I don't understand how gravity works. I think I'm just kind of trusting everybody. Like, I certainly believe in it. I'm not a flat earther. But I don't get it. Let's not pretend like we just get it and you go, oh, well, since that's how things have worked forever, it makes sense. It doesn't make sense, but it's allowed to not make sense. Kind of like when people say, oh, well, a positive times a positive is a positive. Oh, so does that mean a negative times a negative is a negative? No. A negative times a negative is also a positive, What? What are you talking about? That's just something you heard in school and you just have to go with because we based all calculus off of it and all that stuff. I'm fine with buying into it. I'm not trying to change anyone's mind here about how we shouldn't use those rules like gravity and atoms and numbers. I'm fine with buying into it, but I also want to tell you it doesn't make any sense to me. And that's why I dropped out of engineering.
Hello?
Hello, honey.
Hey, Joseph, it's Colin.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 10, the interview with Colin Blair. You know him, you love him. Welcome, Colin.
Hello, good to be back.
Happy to have you back. Today we're going to have a short one, just a one-topic discussion, everybody. Colin and I were trying to think of things to say, but I went out to dinner yesterday with some friends from work, and every time we go out to dinner, I want to go because I'm like, okay, it'll be fun to socialize and all this stuff, but there's like 10 people we work with that all want to go to dinner, and it's always just like a hassle. It made me realize like there's too many people eating dinner. We're all breaking off in our own conversations here. What is the ideal number of people to have at a dinner in terms of conversation? Obviously, if you're having like a wedding rehearsal, it's hard to be like, we got to limit it from 200 of our friends to 4. So I get there's a difference, but if you're just going out with friends after work, Colin, how many people do you think is the normal amount, a good amount of people to eat dinner with?
So I think it depends on the type of table. Now, are you just talking like a rectangular table or a round table?
Well, you go first because I thought about that as well, funny enough.
All right. Well, if we're talking a normal rectangular table, I think the correct answer is 6 people. And here's why. I'm thinking, obviously, you got the two people on one side, 2 people on the other side in the middle. And you need, and then you have the people heading the table. But you can't just have one because it's too awkward of a position to be in. So you need one on the other side. So I think it's 6. And the reason it's not like 4 without the people at the ends is I just don't think that's enough people. That's more of like a lunch to me. I don't think that's a dinner. I think 4 people is like a nice lunch. 6 people with a person on each end, that is the perfect dinner. No clicks are happening within the table. So that's what I think. 6 is that number.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I hadn't even considered. I was picturing like Texas Roadhouse. That's where we went yesterday, like sitting in a booth. So I didn't even consider having someone at the end of the table. But we had 7 there yesterday. And the guy, it was 3 of us on one side and 4 on the other, and they had to add like a section to the table to extend it for the 7th guy. And like 10 minutes into the dinner, he just had headphones in and was watching YouTube. And I felt bad.
Yeah.
He was on one end and I was on the other. And I was like, I'd like to talk to this guy, but I can't even hear him if he, like, what am I going to lean down and be like, hey, how was your day? So I'm like, this just doesn't work. I don't want to kick this guy out, but this does not work for a dinner. Now, if he was at the head, that would be different, like you said. And I think I guess my answer, I didn't say, my answer is 4. And that's just me firing from the hip. So I like the answer of 6, but yeah, I think 4 because I'm used to like you said, I don't want clicks to break out because we've had dinners with 8 and it just breaks into 4 and 4. Like the people at the ends don't ever interact. So it's like, why are we here? Now, if it's like a family dinner where we've gone out to dinner together where it's like your whole family and me and it's just you and me talking, like, yeah, I don't really need to talk to anybody else for this still to be like a good dinner. But if I'm going to orchestrate, like I'm having all my closest friends together at a dinner, if I get more than 6, that's bad. We need to start breaking off into different tables.
Because the way I see it is if there's more than 6, there's going to be an extension, like a smaller table added on. At that point, there is going to be like a clique forming. Everyone's going to be doing their own thing if you have an extension. So I think beyond 6 is when that happens. That's the way I see it.
Now, do you think the reason I was nervous to say 6 is because I still feel like the people at the ends of the table would be doing their own thing, and now the people in the middle are jumping back and forth they kind of mediate the whole conversation. Now, if they can pull it off, that's good. But you have to be very particular about who you put in the middle now to make sure they're the kind of person that would make everything cohesive.
Mm-hmm. Well, the table I'm imagining is small enough to where the people on the ends.
I keep forgetting.
That's what I'm picturing. I'm not picturing them being far apart. Like, I think it'll be close enough to where that's not a problem. That's the way I see it with
that one's
6
on
people.
me. I keep forgetting you have them at the heads.
No,
I was thinking 3 and 3.
that's a good question.
But no, I think that
That's
makes
the whole
sense. But
point.
those
You
people
need
at the
a
heads,
small
I think,
enough
are still
table.
in charge. Yeah.
Yes.
But I did write here, if it's a circular table, you can go up to 5, which may be even 7. We can add an additional person for your number from 6 to 7, because now everyone's facing each other and everyone can hear each other equally, that it's not...
Mm-hmm.
A circular table changes the game for a dinner or a lunch or whatever.
Yeah, because I thought about what a circular table would be, and I think it goes from 6 to 5. I think 5 is the ideal circular number. That's how I thought about it.
Oh, interesting.
I went down.
So you go down. All right.
Up. Yes, because you don't
what?
want to be
Now
crammed.
it's more intimate.
Yeah, if it's circular at that point, it's not a problem. Yeah, it's not a problem. People doing their own thing. So at that point, you need enough space. So 5 people is perfect. I just feel like at that point it's too crammed. And if it's crammed, then you shouldn't be at a circular table, or you should be at a bigger one. But yeah, I think 5 is the number if you're going to be at a circular table.
Yeah, I guess I'm focusing on the conversation, but even from where I went yesterday, like some of these guys, we work in a warehouse. I mean, they're big, huge, big, fat guys. So when I get crammed into the end, and I'm like, we've got 7 people here. I'm trying to cut my steak, and I got to have my elbows tucked in, and I got to just kind of swivel my arms here like a T-Rex to try to cut my steak. Yeah, it's like, what are we doing? There's too many people here, and now I have to pee, and I can't get out. This is assuming we're at a booth, but that's what inspired me to think about, like, what are we doing here? Is basically all it comes down to. Like, how are we inviting 8 people to go out to dinner? Let's have a pool party or something, or all hang out around a campfire. If you have a big campfire, you can have 15 people in a big circle, and that is an environment that's works for people breaking off. But if you're at a dinner, I want to be able to hear what everyone has to say.
Exactly. That's right. Now, what about a booth? How do you feel about a booth?
I think a booth should be 4. Because then everyone's got their own elbow room and everyone's talking. And that's where I kept thinking, like, if you said 6, now the people in the middle are kind of going back and forth, which is like, hey, let's be on the same page here. I don't want to have anyone feel like they're in charge of, hey, did you hear what this guy said? Wait, hang on, shut up for a second. Listen to that guy. A booth, I think, should be 4. Maybe 5 if you can get a guy on the end. But then space gets involved. Is this guy going to be comfortable? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm against that. I don't want the guy in the end on the booth. I just think that's a weird spot to be in. If you're going to be in a booth, you all have to be in a booth seat. You don't want to just throw a guy on the end. I don't want to be that guy, and it's too awkward. That's the way I see it. But I think a booth is 4 and only 4. No more, no less.
Okay.
The answer is 4.
Yeah, that's where I got my 4 from, because I was imagining a booth. I guess it could come down. It depends what you're eating too. If it's like, if you're just at a bar and you're in a booth and you're getting like an appetizer and you're all sharing nachos, okay, maybe 6. And if you're all close friends and everyone's going to hear everyone out, maybe that. But if you're trying to cut a steak, you need those elbows. And the second you have to tuck them in, you're just going to be pissed off. And I'm saying you, I mean myself. I'm furious when I'm like, I'd like to eat this, please. So that's how I feel.
Yeah, that's something I didn't
there's
think
a lot
about.
of things involved.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's different scenarios with different answers, because I didn't think about what you're eating. If you're a close-knit group of people and you're just sharing an appetizer, then yeah, I can see 6 in a booth. But only in that situation. Yeah. If you're sharing an appetizer with people you are very close to and you don't need your elbows, then yeah, go ahead and jam at 6 in that booth. That's fine. Yeah. That's fine with me.
Yeah. And I'm still kind of against that, but that's the farthest I'll go. I guess that's my point. So 4 is still my ideal number. But like you say, yeah, you bringing up people at the ends of the table, I could see 6. If you're at like a fancy, I guess I'm saying fancy, like it doesn't have to be fancy. I just assume anything above Texas Roadhouse is fancy. But yeah, having people at the heads of the table would be different. But hopefully those people will be able to talk to each other. Like if the people at the ends want to talk, they have to wait for everyone on the sides to shut up before they're like, wait, did you see what Morrison did on the file today? And then everyone's like, wait, what? File? Huh? And they're like, we're already past it.
Yeah.
Another scenario is a bar. If you're sitting at a bar, I think 2 is the ideal. You shouldn't have more than 2 people at a bar. And if you have 3, like in terms of a conversation, if you have 3 people, now the third, you have to make a triangle. So the third person has to stand up and be in between the 2 people sitting down. And now you don't have to turn your head or lean over. You can all kind of just face each other. So I think at the end of the day, ideally, whether it's a triangle at a bar or 6 people around a table, the ideal conversation is a circle. Rectangular tables, maybe we crack the code, are not cohesive to conversation.
Yeah, but the thing I was going to say, for the person at the end of the table, like, there's only one scenario where that is okay, and that's if it's their birthday. The only time you can have one person at the end of the table is if it is their birthday, no other reason or no other point to do it, because it's just too awkward. Like, you don't want to be that person unless you volunteer. Like, you don't want to show up to a dinner and say, hey, you're going to sit at the end and it's just going to be you. It's just, no. It's too awkward a position unless it's your birthday. That's the only time I can see that being
my first
okay.
thought, if I'm at the head of the table and I'm the only guy, like there's no one on the other side, I'd be like, what am I, royalty? But at least on your birthday, you're kind of like, I am royalty. It's my birthday. I am royalty.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. But otherwise, you need the other person on the other end. So it's not just you. That's why I went with 6. Yeah. So that if you're going to have 5, you got to have the 6th person to equal out who's at the end of the table. That's how I look at it.
I agree. And even if those cliques break off, at least now it's 3 and 3. And those people in the middle can kind of like I said, like mediate, like, oh, wait, hang on, you're going to have to hear this for a second. But if it's 3 and 2, then it's just awkward. Or even 6 and 1, like I said yesterday, we had the guy at the end of the table with no one across from him, and he was just on his phone. And I just felt bad. I'm like, you really shouldn't be here. Yeah, not good. Just watching YouTube. Side note, just a stupid story from yesterday. I went to Texas Roadhouse, and I was like, you know what, I'll get a beer. And I got my beer, and I ended up getting a second beer. Guess how much it costs for 2 pints of beer at Texas Roadhouse, Modelo's?
Let me think. Like a bottle or not a bottle?
No, it's like a mug draft, like a big. I got a tall Modelo, 2 of them. I got my check and almost pooped my pants.
$7 each.
$8.25 each. Yeah, close.
Oh,
$16.50 for 2 beers. I was like, what the heck? I could have bought a 24-pack for $16. This is crazy.
That is absurd. Yeah. I guessed high, and it was higher. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. Oh, me neither, my friend. But that was a nothing story. But I have a good story of a time that you and I were at a dinner. Maybe one of my favorite stories of all time. And it was, do you remember what I'm going to say?
I don't know. No.
This is like 4 years
ago. But you go ahead, yeah.
Well, you'll know right away. This is 4 years ago. Bills are in the playoffs. I don't even remember who they were playing.
Oh, yeah.
And we left for dinner, and it was like the third quarter of the game. And we go out, and I'm watching it on my phone. Like you and I, this is what I was talking about with you and I. I've gone out to dinner and just talked with each other. I think I just had it on my phone. We were keeping up with the game. And then we saw this guy at another table. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but we saw this guy at another table wearing a Bills jacket. But like everyone else was all dressed up nice. And you and I kind of just put the scenario in our head. Like, I bet that guy was watching the game and his family dragged him out of the house. Like what happened with us. And he's like, screw it. I want to watch the Bills game, but you know what? I'm going to put on my Bills jacket just so you know, like, I'm pissed off about this. So we had this whole scenario. Yeah, his wife probably dragged him out for some anniversary dinner, and he's wearing his Bills jacket passive-aggressively. So when I think we were still at the table, and that family got up to leave, like they were done, and as the guy passed by, I was like, hey, Bills just went into overtime, right? Wasn't that what happened?
Yeah, it went into overtime.
Seconds left in the game, and the Bills tied it up, and they're going into overtime. So I was like, hey, just so you know, dude, like, I'm with you. Bills rule. And then your dad was like, I bet that guy was recording that game. And then immediately I was like, oh.
You just spoiled it.
That guy was probably he's probably not passive aggressive at all. He probably loves his wife and he's going on this anniversary dinner. He's like, you know what, honey? I'll record the game. What are the odds that some idiot's going to spoil it for me? We're going out to this restaurant. There's no TVs. I'll be able to go home and enjoy it. It's no problem. I love you. We've been married 35 years. This is our anniversary. And then some nitwit kid watching the game on his phone is like, hey, Bills just tied it up. You can fast forward that DVR all the way to the last 2 minutes. And I felt terrible.
Yes. I know, because he was thinking, if we're going out, all the people eating at the restaurant, they won't care about the Bills game because they're missing it. So I won't have to worry about anyone spoiling it. That's exactly what happened. But then, we brought this up. If you don't want the game spoiled, then don't wear your Bills jacket. Don't let us know you're a Bills fan. Otherwise,
it's
you're
not
asking
like... Right. It'd be different if every single person that left the restaurant, I was like, hey, just so you know, sir, Bills are about to tie it up. But I only said it to that guy because he looked like a Bills fan, and we put this weird scenario in our heads of like, this guy probably is dying to know what's going on in the game. But I hadn't even considered the fact, DVR exists. He's probably just going to go home and rewatch it. Whoops.
No, I still am totally on board with what you did. If you're going to wear the Bills jacket, then you're asking for it. Someone's going to mention the Bills to you. If there's a playoff game going on, if you're wearing your Bills jacket to a pretty fancy restaurant, a Bills jacket sticks out. Someone's going to mention the game to you. So
maybe
I think you were in the right.
Okay, I think maybe after this is like a 4-year-old story, maybe more. Like maybe I've only felt guilty because I don't want to acknowledge that guy was in the wrong at all. But you know what? You're right. Don't wear your Bills jacket.
Yeah, bad idea. If you're trying to avoid all signs of the Bills, then don't do that. It's his fault. You were right, Harrison. Don't even
he's
think twice about it.
He's got a big sign on his back that says, "Please let me know how the Bills are doing," and I did it.
Yes, you might as well be.
But that's all. I think that's our only fun dinner story. I mean, we've gone out to plenty of dinners, but that's the funniest one. If I think back on that one, I mean, I still bring that up. It makes me laugh all the time.
The one I thought you were going to... I mean, this isn't a story, but this was literally last year. We all went out before you moved, and someone offered a pickle to our uncle. Do you know where I'm going with this? I don't think so, because it's such a...
Oh, wait.
It's a very quick one.
You go ahead. I was trying to remember where this was, but yeah.
Like this made me tear up laughing. It was so funny. But someone gave him a pickle, and he was like, "Oh," and his eye started watering because of his so whatever. And then you as a joke, pretending to be him, said, "This is the best pickle I've ever had." It's just, I don't know why that I've never laughed harder in my life.
Oh no, I forgot about that, but I know what you're talking about.
That's one of my favorites.
I wouldn't have
been able. That's what I thought you were going to say. Yeah, that is funny.
I would not have remembered what I said, but yeah. I know. That's the thing. I think half of our jokes are just that. Like, could you imagine if this guy said this? And I think that's where it's tough to even tell the Bills story, because I'm like, that could very well not be true, that he didn't DVR the game. He just likes the Bills. He didn't even know there was a game on. Maybe he's just wearing a jacket. I'm wearing a Phillies hat right now. I got no idea who they're playing. So that's a scenario. But it's a lot funnier if you imagine it the way we did. It's a lot funnier to imagine that it's not the spice that makes our uncle's eyes water when he eats this pickle. It's the idea that it's the greatest pickle he's ever had in his life, and he's crying about it. And another story like that, I mean, I guess we could go on all day, but my favorite one that you said that's a joke like that, I've told you this before. You, me, and Jason were driving to Niagara Falls, and we're driving through Buffalo or whatever, and there's just all these hobos running around. And this is our Buffalo episode. And there was just, we pulled up to a stoplight or something, and there's just this guy with his fingers in his ears going, and then you just as a joke went, "Hey man, are you okay?" It's just like, I don't know why that was just so funny, because you didn't say it to the guy, but just the idea that you would roll the window down to a homeless guy, clearly mentally deranged, like running through the streets of Buffalo and going, "Hey, are you okay?" is one of the funniest things I could have ever imagined. And those are my kind of jokes right there. It's just, I'm not going to say this, but could you imagine if I did?
Yeah, just gonna say, you bring up a good point. Half the things that are hilarious that we remember, just like, imagine if this happened, and we're just saying it to ourselves, and it just cracks us up.
Yeah. No, there. Oh wait, what was the other one? This is before I moved too. You and I were at Target, and we saw a short person. And do you remember this?
Yes, and I'm not proud of this one. But go ahead.
Yeah. I don't even know if we should say it, but just yeah, we'll just leave that to the audience imagination. Like, we didn't say anything to this guy. Don't worry, we weren't evil. But we were coming up with lines back and forth of, like, imagine if you went up to this guy and said blah, 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 blah. And we went on for, like, I don't know, 10 minutes back and forth of, like, wait, imagine if he was still there. What would you say? But those are some funny jokes. So if anyone wants to get on the show, get some of those ready, because that's our kind of humor. But I think that's all the time I got. Unfortunately, I have to run to work now. But there's your answer, everybody at home. You can have, I don't remember what we said. I said 4, you said 6 if there's 2 people on the ends of the table. If there's a circular table, you said 5.
I said 5.
And the circular table or some sort of a circle shape is ideal. So even with the rectangular table, when you have people on the ends, it's like, okay, everyone's at least facing the same direction. I think that's the way you have to go into dinners, is making sure if they say, do you want to sit in a booth? You tell them, no way. We need a table with people on the ends of it. If you're at a bar, you need to have 3 people in a triangle to be able to have a conversation. You can't have people leaning over and trying to reach for stuff or like, wait, what did that guy say? Because the guy in the middle has to keep going like this. And that's not right.
Yep. You want to avoid putting people in awkward situations. That's the whole reason
Unless
how I look at it.
If they opt in for it, if they can handle it, then maybe we'll change our minds. But if you're organizing this, don't put anyone in that position. So there you go, everybody, and come up with funny scenarios of imagine if this guy said that. That'd be good. So, all right. Thank you, Colin. That was a short one, but thank you for joining, and everyone's a lot smarter now. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes. Thank you.
And we'll see you on the next episode.